My ex married his dream woman right after our divorce. Then I saw her face and realized everything. Have you ever poured your heart and soul into a marriage, sacrificed your own needs, only to have your husband abandon you with a flat, cold email on your anniversary, and then blame you for not being a real wife? My heart still aches, not from pain, but from the sheer disbelief of it. But what would you do when the man who discarded you so callously calls months later, utterly panicked, because his new perfect life is crumbling around him, and he needs your help to understand why his new baby doesn't look like him or his new perfect wife? Oh, the irony. My name is Isabella. I'm 36 years old and live in a quiet town on the outskirts of Denver. I work as an accounting assistant for a medical equipment supplier, and I manage our small home. No kids, no noise, just me and my husband, Tyler. Tyler is my age. He works as a sales team leader at a major real estate firm. He has this polished appearance, a persuasive voice, always dressed in crisp shirts with a trace of expensive cologne as he walks by. To outsiders, I probably seemed lucky, but they had no idea how cold it felt inside this house. Today was supposed to be special. June 12th, our wedding anniversary, 8 years, and Tyler's 36th birthday. I took a half day off from work, drove over 30 minutes just to get his favorite red wine, and stopped by a specialty butcher shop to pick out a cut of Wagyu short ribs. I'm not a great cook, but I did everything I could to make this dinner memorable. I strung up lights around the balcony, laid out an ivory tablecloth, arranged the silverware in perfect order. The custom cake I ordered was ready in the fridge, a simple one with smooth vanilla frosting and a small message on top. To Tyler, happy birthday and anniversary. By 7 p.m. I adjusted my dress, dabbed on a little perfume and sat down to wait. I believed he would come home. 8 p.m. I lit the candles. 9 p.m. I texted. I'm waiting. No reply. 9:30 p.m. I called. 5 rings, then voicemail. At exactly 10:35 p.m., I received a short email from Tyler. Sorry, big client emergency. I have to stay at the office. We'll make it up later. No thank you. No happy anniversary. I set the phone down on the table. The candles had burned out long ago. The cake was still untouched in the fridge. I stood frozen in the golden glow of the dining room lights, still holding the folded napkin I'd prepared for him. I didn't cry, but something inside my chest shifted out of place. That night I put everything away. Boxed up the meat, stored it. Took down the lights, wiped the table. No one enjoyed the dinner. There was no one to celebrate with. I lay down around midnight, still in the wrinkled dress I had picked out for the evening. I tried to sleep, but the image of that short, cold email kept slicing across my mind like a dull blade. It wasn't the first time Tyler came home late, not the first time I waited until my body ached. But this time something felt different. A quiet, creeping instinct like a cold breeze down my spine. The next morning, I got up early and went to work like usual. But all day, there wasn't a single message from my husband. I tried calling. Just more ringing. It was as if I no longer existed in his world. At noon, growing uneasy, I called Tyler's office. The receptionist hesitated a moment, then said, "Oh, he resigned 3 days ago. He didn't leave any forwarding information." I stood frozen in the hallway of my own office. The air around me thickened. My heart pounded as memories flooded back like a film in reverse. And suddenly I understood. It wasn't about work or a client. He had chosen to vanish. And I, his wife of 8 years, was the last to know. Right after work I rushed home. Every turn of the wheel felt like bracing against a rising tide. I unlocked the door to our third-floor apartment, the place that once felt like a haven, now thick with suffocating silence. My eyes immediately fell on the shoe rack, a glaring empty space in the second row. Tyler's favorite brown leather shoes were gone. I called out, "Tyler!" No response. I hurried to the bedroom and my heart sank like a stone. He was standing in the middle of the room, beside an open suitcase. Clothes tossed quickly into a duffel bag. A navy suit, a tie, a pair of brand new dress shoes still with the tags on. Items he never wore to any regular meetings. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Tyler looked up at me like I was a stranger. "You're back," he said flatly, then continued packing. I stepped closer. "Where are you going?" "New job over," he said casually. "I've accepted a new job in Albuquerque." What? I froze. You quit your job and didn't say a word to me? He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled a slim folder from his bag and placed it on the table. Opened it. The first page was divorce papers. I stood motionless. Tyler, what is this? He looked at me with eyes like steel. You're no longer the wife I need. What are you talking about? I gasped, unable to believe it. You always put work first. The house is dusty. You only cook on weekends. You don't care about me anymore. I gripped the papers. I tried. You come home late saying you already ate. I cook. You ignore it. I clean. You tell me not to touch your desk. And now you blame me for not fulfilling my duties. Don't bring up petty things, he snapped. You just make excuses. A real wife doesn't need reminders. I let out a bitter laugh. You talk like I sit around all day. I work. I pay half the rent, but no one cooks dinner for me. No one asks if I'm okay, and I never complained. Tyler narrowed his eyes. That's your choice. I've made mine. He zipped the suitcase and headed to the door. I rented an apartment near the new job. I start next week. Don't get in my way. I blocked the door. That's it? No apology, no explanation. After 8 years. I don't owe you anything, he said, then brushed past me without looking back. The door clicked shut behind him, final and cold, like the slam of a courtroom gavel. I sank to the floor, still clutching the divorce papers, my hands trembling. 2 days later, I received a call from the building management office. Mrs. Isabella, we just received a request to transfer the lease. The current leaseholder has requested to terminate the contract. I froze. What did he say? I asked. He had just left a note. I no longer live there. The person staying behind will clear out and move before the end of the month. No discussion. No message. That night, I dug through the drawer of our old desk and found the receipts for all the furniture. Almost everything from the sofa to the fridge was under my name. The only things he took were clothes and a few small tech items. Tyler left like a stranger, but it was that very coldness that finally woke me up. I looked around the apartment. Everything was still there except the marriage. I didn't sign the divorce papers right away. They sat on the table for 3 days like a scratch that hadn't started bleeding yet. Every time I walked past, I stopped and stared, as if a reason might appear between the cold, typed lines. But the more I looked, the clearer it became. The only explanation was Tyler's brutal silence when he walked out without a word. On Saturday night, I got a notification from an old friends group, an 18-year high school reunion at a craft brewery downtown Denver. I had once looked forward to it, had even paid the reservation fee a month ago. Back then, I imagined showing up with Tyler hand in hand, a stable couple among those struggling or divorced. Now it was just me and a hollow ache that ran deep. I almost didn't go. But then, after looking in the mirror at the tired face still holding a trace of dignity, I got dressed. A simple black dress. Wine-colored lipstick. Hair pulled back. Not to impress anyone. Just to remind myself I still existed. I was still strong enough to walk into a crowded room without flinching. Moonlight Brewery was just as loud and lively as I remembered from our teenage years. Laughter, clinking glasses, and the hum of old stories echoing from every corner. I stepped into the noise, feeling out of place at first, until a familiar glance made me stop. Hey, Isabella. I turned. It was Nathan, the guy who used to play bass in the school band. Now he had a bit of stubble, a warm, settled look. I almost didn't recognize you. He smiled, handing me a beer. Still the last one to show up, huh? We sat at a small table tucked in the back. Nathan shared that he'd been divorced for 3 years, raising his 6-year-old daughter alone. No bitterness. No dramatics. Just quiet truths shared like two adults halfway through life. When he asked about Tyler, I answered simply, "We're getting divorced." No pity. Nathan gave a small nod, then changed the subject. And I was quietly grateful for that. That night, driving home through Colorado's early summer chill, I turned on the radio. An old song came on. It's not right, but it's okay. The lyrics hit like a punch to the chest, pulling up a flood of memories. Cold dinners left untouched. Unread messages and hugs that had faded into nothing. All those years I kept telling myself, Tyler's busy. I should be more understanding. I just need to try harder. But facing the bare truth, I realized I had lived like a shadow, always finding reasons to excuse someone else's neglect. Sunday morning, as I was making coffee, my phone rang. The screen lit up. Tyler. I hesitated a few seconds, then picked up. I've informed the leasing office we're terminating the contract by the end of the month. You should start packing, he said, his voice flat like a command. I stayed calm. You don't think you should have asked if I had somewhere else to go? You're an adult. Figure it out, he replied bluntly. I set my mug down and spoke slowly. Good. I'll sign. Tyler stayed quiet. And don't call again, I said firmly. Don't talk to me like I'm still the one keeping your house in order. Still no response. I hung up. No hesitation. I sat at the table. My eyes drifted over the divorce papers. Then, as if closing a chapter that had long since rotted, I picked up the pen and signed my name. Not a single tremor in my hand. Not a single tear. Just clarity. After so many years clouded by hollow promises. Exactly 1 week after I submitted the divorce through my attorney, Tyler sent me an email close to 10 p.m. The subject line held just one word. Proof. I opened it. Before I could even read the first line, a photo jumped out at me. A marriage certificate. Groom Tyler Robert James. Bride Marissa Ellis Whitmore. Stamped in deep red at the bottom. Bernalillo County, New Mexico. Date of registration. Exactly 1 day after the court finalized our divorce. Before I could react, my phone rang. He called right after sending it. I picked up, not because I cared, but because something told me it would be worth hearing. Marissa gave birth, Tyler said immediately. A baby girl. I heard him swallow hard, then silence. I waited. She doesn't look like me or Marissa. Actually, she doesn't look like either of us. I tightened my grip on the phone, lips pressed together to stop myself from laughing. Maybe she takes after someone on your side of the family? I offered, light as air. No, I thought that too. But Isabella, do you remember when you laughed hysterically after I told you about Marissa? You knew something, didn't you? Tyler's voice suddenly rose, nervous and panicked. I leaned back in my chair, a slight smirk on my lips. I just found it interesting, I replied, holding back the sharpness in my tone. Stop joking. I did a DNA test. The baby is mine, but I still don't get it. Why doesn't she look like either of us? I haven't told anyone but you. You laugh like you knew something. Please tell me. I gave a quiet chuckle. My voice was calm. Do you remember your high school graduation album? Silence. I continued. I found it while packing up the old apartment. It was buried at the bottom of your desk drawer, covered in dust. You were digging through my stuff? Tyler sounded slightly irritated. No, I was cleaning as you requested, I emphasized. And when I opened that album, I was stunned. A curly-haired boy with squinty eyes, crooked teeth, and acne-covered skin. It took me a few minutes to realize it was you. Tyler exhaled slowly. I always wondered why in 8 years you never introduced me to your college friends. Why you insisted on a small wedding with no friends. Why there wasn't a single teenage photo in our home. Now I understand. I changed out of insecurity, he said quietly. No, I replied. You changed because you wanted to live a new life, but you forgot one simple truth. Genetics can't be altered. Silence stretched out between us. You think I'm ashamed of who I was? No, I said. I feel sorry for an innocent child who's going to grow up with 2 parents who couldn't be honest. You hid your past. So did Marissa. And now you're surprised your daughter doesn't resemble the edited versions you both constructed? You think she's going to look like that old version of me? Tyler's voice wavered. No one knows, but she will carry what's real in you. Your blood. Your DNA. Everything you've tried to erase. I could hear him inhale deeply. What about Marissa? I asked, cutting in one last time. She cried, said she was exhausted from labor. But you know what's worse? She won't hold the baby. Every time she looks at the child's face, she turns away. Yesterday, her mom had to step in and hold the baby because she refused. I don't know what to do. I stayed quiet. A bitter heaviness rose in my chest. Not for Tyler, but for a child already rejected by the very people who brought her into this world. I lowered my voice. You once said I failed as a wife because I wasn't willing to sacrifice. But the one rejecting his role as a father is you. Tyler sighed, maybe about to speak again, but I stopped him. You don't need advice from me. I just hope you don't project your shame onto that baby. She didn't do anything wrong. I ended the call before he could reply. Then I blocked his number. There was nothing more I needed to hear. Nearly a year after my final conversation with Tyler, I barely remembered his presence in my life. Not because I tried to forget, but because the life I built after him filled every empty space he left behind. I moved into a small apartment in Boulder, just a 10-minute walk from the office. The balcony overlooked green hills with just enough sun to grow a few pots of herbs. Mornings no longer felt like something to dread. I'd wake early, make coffee, and breathe. I kept my current job but reduced my hours. I chose a life of balance instead of burnout, chasing things that were never meant for me. I enrolled in a weekend art class and reconnected with old friends, one of whom was Nathan, the guy I had met at the reunion. We didn't tie each other down with promises or expectations. Just quiet afternoons and simple companionship between two people who valued peace. I no longer checked on Tyler. But life has a strange way of updating you about people who once stepped out of it. One early autumn afternoon, I ran into Lana at a used bookstore. After a few casual greetings, she leaned in and whispered, "You haven't heard anything about Tyler, have you?" I shook my head slightly. "Marissa is looking for a divorce attorney." I raised an eyebrow, unsurprised. "Word is Tyler cheated again." Lana continued. "With a new hire at his wife's company. Marissa found out 3 months ago but kept quiet for the child's sake." "The child?" I asked. "Their daughter. She's almost 3 now. But it gets worse." Lana showed me a screenshot from a friend in a preschool parent group. "There's a new girl in class. Her mom had full plastic surgery. Somehow the kids found out and started teasing her, saying, 'Your mom used to be ugly.' The poor thing cried all week." I stared at the message, heart sinking. Even though I no longer cared about Tyler or Marissa, thinking of a child being bullied for choices that weren't hers broke something in me. Sadness. Anger. Both. "Marissa regrets having the baby," Lana added. "She thought the child would inherit her post-surgery beauty, but now it's obvious the girl carries the original genes." I said nothing because honestly there was nothing left to say. Tyler and Marissa once chose a version of life wrapped in glitter, built on illusions of beauty, status, and control. But in the end, what couldn't be hidden, the past, the truth, and the way they treated others, was what showed up the clearest when they had a child. I returned to my afternoon, picked up a small croissant from the bakery, and strolled home through the park where golden light streamed through patches of grass. My life now has no drama, no major twists, but it has rhythm, autonomy, and a fullness I once thought I'd never touch. Sometimes I still reflect on what I've been through. 8 years of marriage, a sudden divorce, a shameless betrayal, and the unmasking behind all that flawless makeup. But I no longer feel bitterness. I feel gratitude because that collapse gave me the chance to be reborn. Not into someone new but into myself. No compromises, no avoidance, no pretending to be okay. If anyone ever asks me whether I've forgiven Tyler, I'll probably smile and say, I don't need to forgive anyone. I just need to live true to myself. And for the first time in years, I can say that without hesitation. Isabella's story is a reminder that appearances may fool the world, but time always reveals the truth. When she was betrayed and discarded for not being perfect, she didn't seek revenge or beg for closure. She walked away quietly and rebuilt her life from the inside out. In the end, those who lived a lie had to face the consequences they created. While Isabella found freedom, peace, and her true self, something no amount of cosmetic surgery could ever buy. What do you think of Isabella's choices and the downfall of those who lived a lie? Share your thoughts in the comments.